Welcome back to In the Box. I'm Sandy Plashkis. If you haven't already, follow us on Instagram at OwnersBox and head down below to like, comment, and subscribe to let YouTube know that we are fire.
Welcome back to a very, very special edition of In the Box. Today I am joined by my father, the one and only Danny P. 1242, the biggest Raptors fan in North America, arguably. So on today's episode, we're going to talk this Raptors versus Celtics series. My dad is very polarizing with his opinions and thinks the Raptors are going all the way. So Dad, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
My name, nice to meet everyone. I'm Father Danny P. 1242. And today we're going to talk about a topic. I love to talk about a bunch of things, everything from sports to business to entrepreneurship. And certainly I love to talk about the Toronto Raptors.
Awesome. So let's just start. We saw the Celtics first two games go in, defeat the Raptors pretty badly. You had a prediction. I don't know how many games you called in the series, but what was your pre-series prediction on how long the series would go?
6 games.
6 games. So are you holding true on the 6-game prediction?
Yes, just like Kendrick Perkins. This is the same that happened last year. I don't know if you're going to ask me further questions, but
go ahead. Just go ahead.
As you know, yesterday. So let's just go back and look at the history of my predictions. So this dates back to last year. The Raptors played the Orlando Magic, and Sandy has a friend, Jack Bailey, and another friend, Jack Heller, 2 haters. They changed teams based on who's best. So I think Jack Heller's favorite team was Golden State before we smothered them. And I know Jack Bailey used to be a Miami Heat fan, but this week it's the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay. So we played the Orlando Magic. And we lost the first game. The next 4 games, they were mercy ruled. So I did the same, took the same application and made the same prediction this year with the Los Angeles Lakers, Sandy, your team. I said after they lost the first game, I sent a message
Lakers
to our group. I said Lakers in 5, they wouldn't lose another game, and they were in 5. So that was the correct forecast. Now moving along here, I've said this to you. Our coach last year, when we were down 2 games to love, I took your brother to the game, and the coach said, I thought the game you had to win 4 games. He wasn't panicked. He just needed to assess. I still think the coach could fine tune what he's doing. They throw this guy, Robert Williams, out there. We've obviously answered most of him now, but I would send out, perhaps our incredible French-Canadian center who can just throw some foul. Boucher, I think he's great defensively. He's a little more nimble, and he would be the answer. So we have some answers, but really, it wasn't the Celtics playing well. I mean, I've never seen a basketball game, Sandy, where a team hasn't got any foul shots, but it did happen. I have to credit the referees for helping the Celtics. And
the referees have been terrible. They have been. But I want to ask you, because the Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best. He won this year, obviously. I was a hater at first on the Nick Nurse signing and promotion to the Raptors coach, but he's been unbelievable since he went in there and really changed the culture there. Obviously, Majiri, the ownership's great. But talk about the Raptors' short bench last night. They didn't play Boucher. They didn't play Powell at all. Do you think, usually the Raptors have so much depth, they run different rotations and lineups like they did in the first series, and they swept it. So do you think that's contributing to why they're not playing as well? Or do you think the Celtics are just playing up to a higher standard right now?
He actually only played 7 guys. The 7th would be Powell on a very limited basis, and he played Ibaka. So first comment is, I don't think the Celtics are the best matchup for the Raptors. They're probably like the Houston, the only team that in the NBA that don't have a true center. When there's a true center, we kill them. Orlando, who almost beat Milwaukee, their center disappears. So does Joel Embiid. I don't mean to insult you, Joel Embiid, but you had a game where you had 0 points, and it's not like you didn't shoot. You missed all 13. We have a great defensive group in center, and we're having troubles adjusting to this Boston team because they don't have a true center. Their center is someone that they picked off the scrap.
Tice.
So it's,
Daniel Tice.
So we've had a problem figuring out what to do with our centers. So I agree that your comment, our coach is by far and away the best coach in basketball. There's not a superstar on the team, and there's a bunch of interchangeable parts. And usually you're right. The depth of the team is that they go 9 and 10 deep. We haven't seen Terrence Davis, who on another team,
and he can shoot like crazy too.
He would be a rookie of the year candidate on a team that, that Kemba Walker came from. How's that? But at the end of the day, he's been very short with his bench. I don't agree with it, but we're not finding the guys aren't shooting. Sure, we had 56 points from our guards yesterday, but we're not shooting like we normally shoot. And Powell's been amazing off the bench. Ibaka, Powell, those guys are a cinch off the bench. We even brought our sharpshooter, guard. He didn't shoot well. He led the NBA, I believe, in 3-point percentage. Matt did, and we clearly haven't seen anything from Terrence Davis in short spurts. So, bit frustrating. But I took a couple of positives out of that game last night. Pascal Siakam, 11 points in the third quarter, 14 points in the third quarter.
Pascal he had 2 in the first half too, which was worrisome. He's been struggling big time.
He's been struggling in Florida in general. His average has gone from 25 points during the season to something south of 17. So he just hasn't been shooting as well. It happens. People slump. So, but this all happened. The reason I think the Celtics won the first 2 games is that all happened. I'll credit them on the first game, but the second game is the game was in our hands. They're not scoring 120 points anymore. They're barely scoring 100. So the Raptors defense, we figured these guys out. We just haven't figured out our own offense. And we start bombing threes and moving that ball around like we do so well. They can't stop us.
That's a great, and I agree. The defense was way better last night. Tatum only had 15 points or something like that along those lines. But
tell your friend Andrew Jacob.
This brings me to my next question, though. Our buddy Andrew Jacob, love him, one of our OwnersBox guys here, is the biggest Celtics fan in the world. And we're in the group chat all the time talking smack back and forth about who is the better player right now as it stands, taking into account the bubble performances and this whole regular season, Pascal Siakam or Jason Tatum. I'm going to say I think easily Jason Tatum's a better player. He's going to be, he's a perennial all-star going forward, but I think Siakam's great, but I don't think I think Tatum's definitely the better player, but I know where you stand, so let's hear it.
Well, first of all, based on this series and the outcome of the bubble, that's a true statement. But it wasn't a true statement during the season. Let me put it in perspective. LeBron James and Giannis. LeBron James was one captain for the All-Star team, and Giannis was the other. When it came down to the second guy picked, Giannis picked Pascal Siakam. I don't even know that Jason Tatum was chosen until the later, but he wasn't chosen before Pascal. So let the players speak, not the U.S. media, and I'll get into that in a moment. But what LeBron's comment is you just stole my draft pick. That was his comment. So, this Jason Tatum, the U.S. loves to celebrate guys before they're good. The Lakers had a guy like that moved to New Orleans. I told you that he was a hog with the ball, and he was more of a liability. Everyone just Brendan Ingram. People just look at the frame of reference on his offense. So let me remind you guys that Pascal Siakam, in partnership with Kawhi Leonard, not just Kawhi Leonard, set a record. They're number 2 in all time for most points in a playoff series. So don't tell me he's a choke artist. Okay, he's got a ring, and until I see it, the other guy has none. But let's pretend that argument doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, this other guy doesn't play defense like Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam is probably 5 inches longer than this guy. They're the same height.
He's definitely better defensively, for sure.
He's better defensively. Did you see him steal the ball from this guy yesterday when it mattered? This guy had 13 foul shots. He's got a reputation for getting the ball. The one that I'm really impressed with on the Celtics defensively, and I didn't realize he was so good, is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's a basketball player.
He's good.
He's really good defensively. He's doing a great job. He's physical. The biggest cheater is, Marcus Smart's playing 400% above his abilities, which is
the flopping king,
which is a guy that averages 9 points a game, shoots about 25 or 30% from threes. He's playing out of his mind. The beauty about sports is the law of averages. Siakam's going to play better, And Marcus Smart's going to return to his new normal, which is to shoot like a 30% shooter, which he is. And that's it. And as for this guy, Jaylen Brown, I'm super impressed with Jaylen Brown. Super impressed. But again, their bench, they said it on the Toronto Raptors telecast. I didn't get to hear the U.S. media yesterday. God, I can't imagine. But
the fake news sports reporting media in the U.S.
My favorite guy, Stephen A. Smith, even admits that he doesn't want the championship in Canada. He says it openly. Shouldn't be in Canada. It's an American sport. That's what he says. And I think these guys build it around. Now, I don't know what Charles Barkley said. You'll have to fill me in.
He's fake news, though. You don't want him supporting the Raptors. He's been cold as hell lately on his
What's he saying? You're right about the sweep. He said Portland would sweep LA.
He said if Portland won game one, which they did, they would sweep the Lakers in round one, which obviously didn't happen. 4 straight wins for the Lakers, easy as can be. Dame Lillard got sent home on the bubble. Shout out Tommy, that's your guy. But we're still here, and the Lakers, I mean, we're in a great spot. LeBron's drinking wine, smoking cigars by the pool right now, watching these games going. So we'll get to my Lakers in a second. But talk about OG Anunoby, because that's one of my favorite players. I took his point total over with my brother last night, over 11. He banged that 3 at the end of the game to win, to cover the points, to cover the money line. So life is good for Toronto Raptors fans and OG Anunoby fans. So talk about his impact, because he's all over the floor that whole game.
Yeah, so I want to address that hater Andrew Jacobs and the Boston Celtics. I think the combined all-star selections of the Boston Celtics is less than Kyle Lowry's. Prove me wrong, but so we know
they're younger. They are younger, but yes, I don't know. I can pull a statistic on
the
it.
Team's
maybe.
Younger than the Raptors. You're saying, okay, whatever. Sure. But anyhow, my guess is that if you added in all their guys, they've made 6 All-Star teams. Kemba Walker's never won a playoff series in his life, and they're paying him a max contract. It just shows you the emphasis is wrong, because what I'm trying to first get to before I answer your question is that Kyle Lowry brings an intangible that doesn't show up on the score sheet. Forget that he had 31 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. It didn't matter. Everyone's talking about OG Anunoby's shot. But no one's talking about who called the play. Nick Nurse called the play. He said he learned it from one of the greatest coaches of all time. And did you see the pass? The guy had a 7'4" person in his face, Kyle Lowry, and he threw a cross-court pass across to OG Anunoby. So first of all, the coach is the best in basketball. What a brilliant play. Secondly, Kyle Lowry, kudos to the guy. He's the toughest player in the NBA. Period, full stop. He's what I would want you to be if you played a sport. He's tough.
He's gritty. He is gritty as hell.
He's gritty. He's aggressive. So what I would tell you is that OG Anunoby is very typical of this great general manager that we have. So we don't just have the best coach, we have the best general manager. People don't really want to come to Toronto to play, or didn't, now that Charles Barkley's popularized it. But, Kawhi Leonard couldn't get out of there quick enough. He wanted to go home. They don't love coming up. They don't like the borders and stuff. They like the city, but they don't like coming up. That's been the history. We had Tracy McGrady. He wanted to get out. We had Vince Carter. He wanted to get out. We had Chris Bosh demanded a trade. He wanted to leave. No one's ever wanted to stay in this town because, it's Canada. It's another country. So yeah. What our general manager has been forced to do is take, because here's a fact for you, Sandy. Andrew, here's another fact. You don't let.
We should have got Andrew on this. That would have been way funnier. We totally forgot to invite him to this.
But don't let facts get in front of your blindness. But there's only one team that's won 50 games 5 years in a row, and there's only one team that's had a 500 or better record the last 7 seasons. Can you guys name who that team is?
Well, I'm going to guess the Raptors, since that's the topic of the conversation today.
It is the Raptors, the only team in the NBA. So how do I make such claims? It's all the general manager, right? And so what that means is when you've had a 50-game season, regardless of how poorly you've played in the playoffs, you then have to get lousy drafts. And so we've got lousy drafts. So, Pascal Siakam was the 27th person. Those guys usually turn out to be the Kyle Kuzmas of the world. Guys that
Kuzma's been playing better lately. I wouldn't go down. The guy can't play defense to save his life, but we need him to show up for the Lakers in this series. It's going to be big for shooting purposes. But I wouldn't say he's got to be number 3 on our team.
Well, and that shows a glaring weakness of lack of balance.
Wing defense. Yeah, we have no wing shooter. I mean, I guess Danny Green's been a ghost too. He's getting a little better, but still not
I'm
great.
a Danny Green fan, so
he wasn't great though. Danny Green last year in the playoffs, I love him. I like him. I think he's overpaid, but that's another conversation for another day. But he shot like shit.
He would have stayed. He had that contract. He would never have left. If
he was like the one guy who would love Toronto. He would make his vlogs. He was doing videos about the Raptors the whole season. He actually loved Toronto. He was the one guy that was really outspoken about it. But
my guess is our manager didn't offer him. So you asked about OG. OG was a project. OG would have been a lottery pick.
He had the injury, right?
He had the knee injury, and he came out in his sophomore year.
Pride of Indiana University.
So, OG's a typical Raptor, born in a foreign country, and, a guy that was a project. He wasn't a finished project, and we've really revolutionized the way you look at G League and development. And, all of the Raptors kids, Siakam, Boucher, OG, they've all won MVPs and championships in the G League. And we believe this guy believes in winning, starts the beginning. I think Kawhi Leonard taught us how to win. And I think the reason that we're going to win is we understand how to win. Last night was an example of how we understand how to win and finish the job.
I'm on a podcast. Keep going, sorry.
We're going to finish this job. And OG is upside. Give an example. I think he shot 45% or 50% last year from the line. He's up to the mid 70s. That's not great, but it's better than the Lakers average, to be very candid, if you want to look at some facts. So this team has so much talent and so much balance. This guy, Terrence Davis, another steal. I mean, if he was in the U.S. and he would start on most teams, this guy is such an athlete. As you know,
could use a Terrence. The Lakers could use a Terrence Davis. I told you this like 3 weeks ago. We would love him.
I think that he's going to be part of it. So anyhow, listen, the team needs to shoot better, and we're going to be good. But it's really management's done a lot of things. We have a lot of flexibility. We don't have a lot of salaries. I just don't know whether we can attract the marquee free agent. Such a shame that we lost Kawhi. But Zane, can I tell you something that would make me really happy? I'd like to play Kawhi in the finals.
You're not going to meet too bad. The Lakers in 6 against the Clippers in the Western.
No, I'm just saying I'm not here. I'm not going to forecast the West. I haven't put my mind around it. But if Kawhi wins, it will say that he's one of the great players because he will have won with 3 teams. That's what everyone talks about. But what none of the U.S. media talk about is this: if the Raptors win without Kawhi Leonard, what does that say about Kawhi Leonard? I ask you, because what I think.
If Kawhi loses to the Lakers or whoever is in the conference finals, because I think the Clippers will handle Denver. It's going to be crazy because if he loses and the Raptors end up winning, which is not looking great, but it could happen, that would be insane for his. I don't know what that would say about his resume. Obviously, he's still a great player, but it would definitely put an asterisk on it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I think the same, and I think that listen, the Clippers. I've said this to you, Sandy. I mean, please don't tell Steve Ballmer, one of the richest guys in the world, even though he had a. I'm not suggesting he didn't do great for Microsoft, but he did buy Nokia and made many mistakes. Couldn't get them into the consumer side of the business, other than Xbox, which was a winner. But that trade for Paul George, how critical I have been.
I saw a tweet. It was the funniest tweet. Eddie will pull it up on the screen for the video, but the tweet said, Paul George was Steve Ballmer's worst acquisition since Nokia. That was the tweet, and it blew up. It got so many likes and retweets. So right on your point with what you're saying. So funny.
Well, so here's if you believe what you hear, and you should never, Kawhi Leonard was trying to ransom the Raptors, and they wanted to trade Pascal Siakam from Paul George, and Messiah Ujiri gave them the middle finger. I wouldn't trade Paul George straight up for Shea Alexander Gilgeous, our Canadian boy.
He's a beast. He's young too, so he's projecting pretty high right now.
Last year he was on the bench, and then they brought him in, and they were trying to ransack their year to get a high draft choice, and they started him, and they made the playoffs. It's just that Kawhi dictated that he wanted a guy that's broken the leg. I mean, he's just again overpopularized. Shai Gilgeous Alexander plus Danny Gallinari plus 6 first rounders is the biggest steal I've ever heard. Shea will be better than Paul George.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah, he'll be better next year. Like my boy Murray from Canada, from your
Jamal from Kitchener, Ontario. He's literally
God
from
bless
next
them,
door.
our Canadian boys. Anyways,
question. Let's talk about the Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks series. So let's say Raptors in 6, Raptors in 7, they get it done, they advance. Who are you more worried about right now versus? I know the Heat haven't lost a game in the playoffs, so you might be leaning that way. But would you rather see the Bucks or the Heat in the conference finals? As a Raptors fan,
couple things, Sandy. The Raptors. This is interesting. The Raptors, one could argue, are not as good as last year. People would say that because they don't have Kawhi Leonard. It's a huge loss. But I think other guys have stepped up and improved. So we talked about OG. You asked me to talk about Siakam. They're improved even from last year. We have a better bench, Terrence Davis, stuff like that. I think that the Milwaukee Bucks had some huge losses in the offseason. The guy that went to Indianapolis that started he didn't play the first round against Boston.
Brogdon.
Right. They eliminated that same Boston team in 5 games. Brogdon came back to play against the Raptors, played very well. And they had a couple other guys that they lost. But the team that we really lost to answer your question, that was really good, and we beat, that was really good, but we were real close, is Philadelphia. That team had Butler on it. That team had Redick on it. And the team had another sharpshooter that left. They bet the farm on last year. And and they had a healthy Ben Simmons. Hint, hint, hint. Celtics didn't see him. So I think that Butler is playing fantastic. They got a center. So this is where the Raptors play really well.
Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, against both teams, we have an answer because we can play quick centers. Boston doesn't really have a center that's consequential to the team. Miami does, and so do Milwaukee. Lopez. So they're very consequential to the team. We kill teams that have consequential centers. As I told you, this is not a good matchup for us, the Celtics. So we just got to get by this. But the other two, we handle really well. So I'm not as worried. I'm more worried about the Celtics than I am against the other two teams. And people were saying the same. It was either Celtics or the Raptors. But I'm not being disrespectful. I think that, Milwaukee, I would have thought would have played better. They're not playing very well, but someone could say the same about the Raptors. So they lost a tough game. Let's see how they do. As long as you have, Giannis on the court and, the other guys just have to shoot a bit.
Yeah. So one last final question for you here today. Raptors are going to go to the finals. Who do you think is the finals matchup and what's your prediction for it? In terms of games, how long it will take. This is on record, by the way. So make sure you think, because this is published on our YouTube. So make sure it's a good one.
Well, first of all, I think the Raptors win in 6. I'm not changing my thing, and Kendrick Perkins and I will hold hands.
No, I'm talking about the
I got it.
Talking about this series. Yeah. All right, get there.
Now let's get to the finals. So then you're jumping around, and I think they'll probably play. I still think Milwaukee will be tough. We'll see. But I'm not worried about either team. We will handle both of those. It's not being disrespectful. I think we can handle both of those. I think if it's the Lakers, the Raptors will win. The Raptors have 12 games in a row against the Lakers. The Lakers have thrown their best they can throw. They're just not deep enough. I can't wait. If it's the Clippers, I think the Clippers could beat the Raptors because they're deep like the Raptors, very deep. They're not, so that team looks very much. They bring a second center who's really good, right? He's athletic. They have an incredible 6th man in Lou Williams, who I'm a huge fan in. Really made his recovery from the NBA in Toronto. Another guy that wanted to get out of Toronto, right, and said bad things about Toronto, even though he was 6th man of the year for the first time when he was with the Raptors. So, at the end of the day, I think that the Clippers could win everything. We'll see if they can get by the Lakers. The Lakers look like they have their number, so I can't speak to that matchup. But if it's the Lakers and the Raptors, the Lakers will not win. The Raptors will win.
We got our clip. To stir the pot for this promo episode. But
and if it's the Clippers and the Raptors, I think the Clippers probably will win. But I'm obviously hoping that the Lakers will beat the Clippers. It doesn't look like Denver is going to do anything. I think that the Lakers have their hands full with Houston, and it's going to be a tough one.
We'll see. We don't have guards. We're missing Avery Bradley. Rondo's coming back. But yeah, we don't like. We're missing our defenders. Yeah, that Rondo will make a big difference. We missed him in the first series with Dame and CJ. They missed those quick guards. So I think the Lakers will handle Houston. I'm hoping. I'm not going to give a games prediction on it, but I do think they handle them. And that Clippers Lakers Western Conference Finals. I mean, those in my eyes are the two best teams in the NBA. In my opinion, I think the West is stronger than the East. I think a lot of people do, except for you. But I will see. I mean, I would live for a Lakers Raptors series, and you just predicted it. If we get to that point, our household will be up in flames. That will be a tension-filled couple weeks there. But we have your record. Well, we have your prediction on file now. So just so you know, can't go back.
Let me finish with one more then, if you're going to be quoting me. The Lakers will break their 12-game losing streak against the Raptors that they play, but they will only win one game.
Raptors in 5. All right, that's our clip. All right, so that was the question. He has the Lakers and Lakers/Clippers or his West coming out of the West for him. And then he has the Raptors obviously going through the East and winning it all. He said if they play the Lakers in 5 games, they will beat the Lakers in 5. That is the craziest shit I've ever heard. It's only 12:30. Are you already drinking some alcohol on Friday afternoon here?
No, as you know, I don't drink. So let me talk. Can I turn it to just so we don't, it's not often I get the opportunity to speak to my son about sports. So I'd like to turn it over and address Messieurs Sussman and Gange, and a special welcome.
Special extra episode. All right. So just let me give a little background. Let me give a little background here. So we're from San Diego. We live there, and all my buddies, I don't have one friend that's not a San Diego Padres fan, but I have 2 very outspoken friends who are, very active on Twitter. Let us know when the Padres win, which isn't much over the last decade plus. So we don't hear from them much. But this year they got a better team. So we've been, going back and forth. Obviously, the Dodgers #1 team in the league. Most home run record. They broke that last month. I mean, they're cranking on all cylinders. But these 2 kids, Christian Gange, love them, and Jake Sussman, my 2 boys. They let us hear about these Padres. They got a 2020 World Series prediction that Gange has been saying forever. So you want to address this topic quickly?
Yeah. So first of all, by the way, please don't make Christian Gange look like he's a prophet, because he was saying it this is their year in 2015. He's just been repeating, carrying it forward. So, but the message, I want to give him a compliment. These guys never shut their mouths, even when they're the shittiest team in the world. And they have been the worst franchise in Major League Baseball for 20 years. That's proven. So
yeah, I agree.
I do like their new uniforms, and I do think they're not your father's Padres. They're they're really good. I will say that.
And they're making big trade deadline moves too.
Yeah. And whether you like their big trade deadlines, it's amazing to me that the Padres have always had this highly ranked farm system that's never produced a player. But that's true. So they keep trading these guys away and there's no consequence. But, they're not like the Dodgers that produce players every year. We have 2 kids starting with ERAs lower than anyone on their team. And these are our 2 rookie starters. If Price would have come back, it's great. But, at the end of the day, the Dodgers have, balance, but balance only helps you during the season. So I think that the Padres, they're going to be okay. But,
they'll make the playoffs, that's for sure. But it's going to be, we'll probably see them at some point, second round. I think it is. That's how it lines up. If they make it, we make it.
Your brother took the over. Vegas had the Dodgers to win 36 games this year. And that was the
favorable line. That's insane.
And they're now 29-10. So I like their chances. They're just beating up on everyone. They're not even playing their lineup. And so the only thing that's gone weird about the season is the Padres have done well. And I'm not ready to eat my words on Manny Machado. I still think he's a cancer. I'm glad he's not on our team, but he's having a year. He might hit higher than 250 this year, but I'm not ready to concede that yet. But let me tell you guys, congratulations on you'll make the playoffs because it's expanded to 8 teams. And so it's to your benefit. So we're just going to keep doing our thing. We don't like losing, and after we haven't lost a series, and we're looking forward to hosting the Colorado Rockies that you've had. We haven't been in Colorado yet, so we can get our averages up. So give us a couple more weeks. So that's my forecast. But the Padres, they have a lot to talk about and be excited about. I don't know, where this all goes. They've put together a lot of glue, but I love that kid, their second baseman. I think that kid's really good.
Jake Cronenworth.
I think he's really
Rookie
good.
of the month last month. And then obviously they let us hear about Machado. We're haters. I'm not as big of a hater as you are, but Machado has been playing well. I have him in my OwnersBox fantasy league. I think I have him in over 50% of my leagues. And Cronenworth is like the top second baseman in our format right now. So they're playing well. Got to tip the cap there, but Padres are going to Padre always to me until they prove me wrong. I will die on this hill. Shout out Gain, shout out Sussman. You guys feel my ear all day, but we're still here. I mean, they're just fighting for that second place in the NL West. That's what they're doing.
You know what's interesting, Sandy?
It's a big win for them.
30 days ago, Christian Gaines's favorite player was Austin Hedges, and then at the end when he traded him, he goes, "Oh, he's so shit."
Gaines gonna love that one.
Christian. Who's your favorite player this week? Is it Moreland, or is it the guy that plays first base? I mean, the Padres claim they're a small market, but at the end of the day, they're not better than my Blue Jays. When Bichette comes back, and I want to tell you that they've got three of the most highly paid guys that are playing out of their mind right now, but they're really not good players. And that is Hosmer at first. They'd love to get rid of that contract. No one would take it. Their guy that was traded, he was the rookie of the year with Tampa. I can't remember his name, but he's paid $22 million this year. He's having an out of his mind year. He usually hits about 220, 230, plays absolutely the worst defense in the major leagues. Can't hide him. And then they have Machado, who's paid $30 million more than anyone else wanted him for. So they've got three of those salaries, which are a noose around. So don't claim small market team. My small market team, my second favorite team, and it's a distant team though, is the Toronto Blue Jays, who have won 2 more championships than the San Diego Padres, I might add, and they came into the league after them. So
the Padres have 0 championships, right?
Oh, right. Okay. So
yeah, they
won
0.
2 more.
I just remembered. Yeah, they won a couple pennants though.
Blue Jays have won a lot of divisions in a very tough division. But anyhow, welcome Padres to the dance. You look like you're going to make it. Don't implode. You got to score a few more runs, but you've been scoring. You've been doing great. So your boy Paddock clearly is not an ace. That's been decided, but you can hide him now in the back of your rotation.
Yeah. So we covered, today was a great segment. Thank you for joining us. We covered the Raptors. We got your prediction. Raptors over Lakers in 5 games, which is insane, but we'll let you ride with it. It's on record now. And then we talked about the Padres versus Dodgers. Padres finally have a good team this year. Great segment. Thank you for joining us today.
I got one more forecast though.
One more. Let us hear it before we sign off.
Right. And then you might do your conclusion. You might want to edit that, but let me give you another forecast. Here's my forecast. For all of you guys that are listening to these OwnersBox podcasts, I want to tell you about OwnersBox. This year, because of the uncertainty
we're getting a promo here
around the NFL, Yahoo and ESPN, the 2 major sites for where you conduct your drafts, said that 25% was down because the people, and yet we know that the enthusiasm for gaming is off the charts. We're all dying for more sports, but people are doubting whether the NFL is going to happen. Well, we hope it's going to happen. We believe it's going to happen. But I wanted to tell you that let's assume it's going to happen. If you've missed your year long, guys, play our weekly game. It's actually way better. You don't get thrown off, and if you lost a team and if your quarterback goes down, you're not finished. You're just finished for the week. So come join us.
Come join us. This is the promo. We got a promo out of this. That's what we like to hear. But yeah, beauty of the weekly. The beauty of the weekly is that you can start any day of the week. Doesn't matter what week of the NFL season is. You can do a draft, and you're ready to rock and roll. Also, since a lot of people are sitting out of their season long league this year, come on over to OwnersBox. We are launching today. We're on the App Store, iOS, getting on Google soon. You will see us everywhere. So make sure to download, get on the app, deposit, get your free money, and enter some contests, baby. Thanks for joining us, Danny P. Take care.